You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation, the place where stars and minds align.
Peace, you're now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humbled host, Herut. And I got the master astrologer here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Oh, peace, brother. Never better. Peace. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good, real busy. A lot of changes, a lot of things going on, but all of it's welcome.
Indeed.
And whatnot. Before we go any further, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Calipurusha Astrology. You can find Push It Forward Media Group at Push It Forward. That's PUSHITFWD on Instagram. Follow us, and you can visit us on the web as well at pushitforward.com, spelled just like the Instagram. And there, we have this podcast posted, and you can check out our content there. We got articles, we have, film projects and different things like that. Got some short films coming up real soon. So stay tuned into that. Brother Rod, tell them about Calipurusha and, how they can reach you.
You can always reach me at calipurusha@gmail.com. It's the main address for the business. There is a website that'll be coming up very soon, so you can get nice things, nice features on there. You can get some general information as far as chart stuff, chart information. You'll be able to do that online. You'll be able to book appointments, consultations, all that good stuff, and we'll have a website address for you hopefully within the next couple of podcasts. But that is on the horizon, so. Your boy will be online. Nice little articles as far as transits and upcoming events and astrological and astronomical changes in the sky. So be on the lookout for that. You can also reach me on Shechem Ra at IG. And then you can also reach me on Shechem Ra on Facebook as well. And there is also a YouTube channel, which is Calipurusha Astrology. So either one of those, you definitely can get in contact with me.
Good deal. So yeah, let's go ahead and, start getting into this episode. Our last episode 14, seemed to be quite a hit, what you think, Brother Ra?
Oh yeah, relationships is always a topic that people find interesting, and I figured that people would definitely get a lot out of that information, just being able to examine the reality behind what the purpose of a union is with your mate. So I figured it would have that response, but I'm quite pleased that the people are pleased. So we're gonna try to keep it just as good, if not getting better.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people were hitting me up saying, it wasn't what they was expecting. Mm-hmm. But they were pleasantly surprised by the show, so we definitely appreciate that feedback.
No doubt.
Let me see. Today, we're on episode 15, right? And this is almost like I guess this is one of the first shows that we were going to do. It's like the follow up that we promised. So this is kind of like a follow up show from our first show. We kind of touched on this topic a little bit, but we're going to, zoom in on one aspect of it. Back in the 70s, there was this real popular song out there, and kind of, got this particular topic on a lot of people's radar, especially back in that time period, late 60s, early 70s, the kind of the, everybody was, kind of on the hippie vibe and stuff like that, get into astrology and, different alternate forms of spirituality and stuff like that. So, it's probably one of the time periods as far as to the masses where this concept that we're talking about today kind of got on everyone's radar. And, we thought, kind of what, looking at what's kind of happening right now on, in the world, all the different, events happening, all the different changes and, all the different kind of predictions that people are making in the future. Kind of wanted to get into, what does astrology have to say about that? And we're talking about the ages in astrology, and specifically the age that we're right on the cusp of right now, and that's the age of Aquarius. So Brother Rob, when do you have the age of Aquarius coming in?
That's a very, very good way to start the conversation, because most people don't know how to find it. And it's a very easy way to locate what age you're in that you can find it, through an ephemeris. Most people don't use ephemeris anymore due to the age of the age that we're in that uses technology. But you can get a computer program, you can get online, you can find these things pretty easily. But if you're old school, old fashioned, kind of like my person is, I actually do have ephemeris still to this day, all the way up to the year 2200. But
yeah, I got
you got one of those, right? If the computers go down, we good, right? But
yep.
I can still calculate it without the computer for the most part. Even without the ephemeris, you just have to know how the calculations work. But what you do is you look at the astrological placements for March 21st every year, and every year you will find that when the sun rises on March 21st every year, and that's at 7:01 in my time, 7:01 pretty much in everybody's time, 7:01 a.m. March 21st, which is the equinox, right? And the funny thing about it is that on the equinoxes, the sun rises due east and sets due west, right? Meaning that the ecliptic is directly in the east. When you look at a compass and you look at the east, it is directly there, March 21st and September 21st. That is where, astronomically speaking, right, we look at the rising, and the sun is rising true east. Well, on that date, March 21st, right, this year, 2019, the sun is rising at about 6 degrees Pisces, right? So when we want to know what age we're in, we're going to look to see when the sun rises on March 21st, right, which is due east, and see what sign the sun is in. Well, it's in Pisces. So we're not in the age of Aquarius, but to answer the question specifically, we will be in the age of Aquarius March 21st, 2570, right? So we've got about 500 years to go, right, before this thing changes. And it's simple math, right?
It'll be here before we know it.
Oh, man, we already, this year's gone, right?
Yeah.
It's gone. So, bar none, right? That's how we know the ages. That's how we figure the ages. Like this is observable with the naked eye. You can go out, and right before the sun rises on March 21st, you'll see a constellation. You will see the one of the fish rather, rise due east, and the sun is right before it comes up boom, you can see that the sun is in the sign of Pisces. So this is how we know, right? This is, this is again, I can't stress it enough, right? Visibly seen, right? This is not a computer program. The computer program just backs up what's in the sky. You'll see us post pictures from time to time, Harut and my person, Harut and I, and you'll see us take pictures of the night sky. Those are just computer programs that will really literally verify what you see when you look at the sky for yourself. So, and I don't want to beat up on someone's belief system, but it is a belief system. But Western astrology can't do that. They have to place it in another sign, and they can't go outside and look at the same thing we see. It just doesn't work that way. In fact, we were funning about that with one of these crazy guys out here on YouTube now. But, nonetheless, the age is dictated by when the sun, what sign the sun is in as it rises on March 21st. So, mathematically speaking, 72 years. It takes 72 years for the ages, for the equinox to move, or the heavens to precess backwards 1 degree. So every 72 years is 1 degree. Well, it would take that 1 degree over, right, Pisces, 0 degrees. So it's really 72 years times 7. And if you multiply 72 times 7, you'll get pretty close to that number, right, of the year of 2,570, right? So, in fact, that's a total of 500 years. We just said it'd be 500 years from now, right? So, this is how it's done, right? And this is how we know what age we're in. So we are in the age of Pisces, right? And does that answer the question, brother? Before I proceed, does that?
It does. Right? It does. Yeah, because that's there's a lot of people out there that try to debate whether or not we're already in the age of Aquarius or not, or when does it actually come in. But there's actual science to knowing when that will happen.
Yes, sir, and it's visible. It's visible. You can see it, right? Anything that we practice is practical and spiritual at the same time, right? So these things you can navigate with this stuff, right? I mean, this astronomy and astrology, which were one and the same science in ancient times, you can navigate with it.
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenally so, right? So this is a star map. The map also tells you east, west, north, and south. Right ascension and declination are always the same for the fixed stars. Always. Right?
Yeah.
So that's another topic, another time. But for the most part, right, we're talking about the age of Aquarius. Well, we got to talk a little bit about the age of Pisces before we can delve into Aquarius to give a backdrop of where we are, what we're doing, and where we're headed. So the age of Pisces, just generally speaking, right? And when we use what we practice in astrology, we do not use the outer planets. We don't use Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Why? Well, typically because, number one, they're so far, they are hardly seen with the naked eye. Number two, the time frames from which they influence mankind at best are too vast in number of years to really have a full, complete impact, and for man to be able to master the cycles of time that these planets distribute. So the time frame for Uranus is 84 years for one cycle, right? That means for one complete circuit around the sun, it takes Uranus 84 years. Man typically lives 120, so he gets one opportunity to master that cycle. That's not enough, right?
Yeah.
Neptune takes 164 years, right? And then Pluto takes 248 years. So these are just too vast a cycles for man to really have the ability to master these things. These are much larger scales and affect things in a much larger, grander way. So we don't use those planets. We're talking about the signs and rulerships and things like that. We use the 7 known basic visible planets that rule all the signs. So getting to that, the sign of Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, right? And Jupiter, when we look at Pisces, the age of Pisces, right? Pisces is the age where all of the waters are crossed on the planet, on this globe. That's number one. That's how you know. This is the age that we're looking at. All of the waters are crossed. Yeah. Every water known to man has been mapped. Every ocean known to man has been traversed. And every ocean or large water body known to man has been navigated. And literally, there are ships all over the world, right?
Don't say that to a flat earther.
All right, I could disprove a flat earther in 3 minutes. It's not very hard to do, right? When you know science, right? Just plain and easy. We don't have to have a theory or belief. We can just do simple mathematics. You're playing these things. We won't even get into that. That's another show as well, right? But
yeah,
we're in the age of Pisces, right? And so the age of Pisces is the age where not only will all the waters of the world be traversed and mapped and navigated and crossed and traveled, but this is the age of illusion and belief, false belief, right? Hope, faith, right? And we're talking about principles that humanity gravitates and holds on to, right, for the most part. So with that, right, that planet Jupiter that rules the age of Pisces, Jupiter has two sides to it, just like the two fish. The fish are swimming in opposite directions, right? So they're not swimming in sync. They're swimming typically, right, in directions that are either, they're basically kind of spread apart, if you will, right? Right.
Yeah.
And so when you understand that, right, even I'm talking about astronomically speaking, right, the signs, the two fish are going opposite, and there's a link, a chain that binds them, bondage, right? Right. They're not freed, right? They're actually bound. When you think about that for a minute, and folks, it'll settle in. Think about that the age of Pisces is when two fish are in bondage to one another. They don't flow freely, right? So when you understand that, this age is about bondage. Let me give you another understanding. Yeah. So the 12th sign is not the same as the 12th house, but there is an affinity or a synchronistic connection between the 12th sign and the 12th house. And the 12th house deals with many things that are usually unsavory for most, right? Right? They say it's the house of spirituality. Here's the reality behind that. You don't become spiritual unless you go through adversity, right? That's the only way you know you're tested and vindicated. To say that you're spiritual is if you have had something adverse to test you, right? So this is the age of literally overcoming adversity through belief systems, right? Through spiritual outlooks, but nonetheless, the 12th house is the house of sleep, right? The 12th house is the house of escape. The 12th house is the house of hidden things, right? And so, as you know, right, and most people don't know this. Maybe I know you know it, Atef, but most people don't know you didn't have a Bible in the 1500s, in the 1400s, in the 1300s, in the 1200s. Remember the age of the fish? That's why the Pope's mitre, the Pope who runs the Catholic Church, which is the first known church in mass. I'm not talking about the Ethiopian church, all these other little small churches. I'm talking about the first known church in mass in the world is the Catholic Church. The Pope wears a mitre, right? If you look carefully, the mitre has a split, right? And it looks, when you turn it to the side, like a fish's mouth. That's why the age of Pisces, right? The age of the fish, right? Which is connected to Christianity, right? Jesus fed the multitudes with fish and bread, right? So He's a fisher of men, right? So this age and Christianity goes right in hand in sync because it does rule this age. Christianity is a ruler of the Piscean age. It subdued every known land on this planet. Christianity has conquered the world, bar none. Right? So
Indeed.
these connections, these nuances, right? These symbols that link in the age of Pisces with the age of sleep, with the age of escape, with the age of bondage, with the age of hidden things. Well, you didn't have a Bible. You didn't have a Bible until the printing press was invented in the 1500s. And even then, it didn't catch up to man at large. The printing press was like our, do you remember when cell phones first came out? Not everybody had a cell phone, did they? It was a hot item.
No.
You had to have big money to have a cell phone. Well, the printing press and the material in which those books were printed on, that was like the cell phone back in those days. You didn't have a Bible in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. It began to accumulate and catch up. But even in slavery, let's talk about that, for example, which is the age of what? It happened in the age of what? Bondage.
Pisces.
Right? Not to say slavery didn't exist before then, but I'm talking about transatlantic slavery. And transatlantic, back to those waters, the slaves were taking over vast periods of time. In fact, the 12th house is foreign lands. Right? See how this age connects to the sign perfectly.
Yep.
Right? So these foreign lands, right? The bondage, all of these things, right? The need to escape. Well, even in the age of slavery, there was only one person, one good Negro that had a Bible, right? This was a hot commodity, and that's the only thing you were allowed to read, if you were allowed to read.
Yeah.
So again, things that were hidden, things that were, obscured. This is all the age that we're dealing in. And people say, well, how is it the age of ruled by Jupiter? Because Jupiter has a dark side. All the planets have a dark side and they have a light side. Well, man, not mastering himself in mass, leans in on the dark side much heavier than he does on the light side. And so since he leans in on the dark side heavier, bigotry, hypocrisy, right? False religious tenets, right? Belief systems, right? Believing that the world is what? Flat, right? That's you flat earthers. That's when y'all got y'all jump off, right? Right. Believing, they just literally vindicated. I can't think of the guy's name. Just give me a second; it'll come to me. In 1997 or 92 or 97, they just I think it's Galileo. They accepted his. They forgave him and pardoned him. The Catholic Church pardoned him for saying that the earth goes around the sun. Right? They said that the sun goes around the earth. Right? Just in the 1900s, this is how the age of Pisces literally affected the thinking of man at large. So we're coming out of that age, right? We're on the cusp. The cusp is usually between 3 to 5 degrees. We're knocking on the door. Right? And people say, well, Sheikh Amra, how come we are not in the age we got all this technology and stuff? Well, the cusp is like this. This is how the cusp works. So you understand what a cusp is. When you have the dawn coming, right? You don't see the sun yet, right? You don't see the sun when dawn is here or when the sun is setting, right? There's still daylight, but you can still see night just barely on the east, right? Or vice versa, right? You can see all the night and just a little bit of day on the east, when the sun is rising, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's still no sun. So there's all the darkness that is left. You can still see stars, but you still see that just sliver of light, right? And you can actually see you can look, it's not dark outside. The street lights go off, right? But it's still not light. Complete light. That's what a cusp is. So you see the effects, but you don't feel the effects, right? And when I say feel, meaning that you don't feel the heat of the sun impinging on you, right? The degrees are slowly increasing as far as the temperature is concerned, but you don't truly feel it like when the sun is up and you're like, yeah, right, it's getting hot. So a cusp is that same similar dawn dust type effect where you're going to see some of the effects, but you still can't see it with regards to what it's really representing. And so we are on the dawn of a new age. Literally, that's what they say, right?
And we're in that it shares the same nakshatra at the end.
Right. And so for the purposes of getting deeper into the age of Pisces, there's 3 nakshatras. A nakshatra is what's called an asterism, and these are portions of each of the 12 zodiac signs that are further cut into 13 degrees and 20 minutes, meaning that there's 27 nakshatras. 27 times 13, right, you get about 360, which is a circle, right?
Yeah.
So, right, so when you understand this, the sky is cut into 27 portions of a pie. Each one of those pieces of a pie is worth 13 degrees, or it spreads 13 degrees 20 minutes. But each one of these overlays a sign. So in each sign you have 3 nakshatras, right, or 3 asterisms. 13 degrees, right, and then 4 degrees, well, 3 degrees 20 minutes, right? Because if you add 13, 20, 13, 20, you get 2640, and then 2640 minus 30 is 320, right? So 320, 3 degrees, 20 minutes, right, of Pisces, right, is another nakshatra, another asterism that connects into another sign, which is Aquarius. So the asterism or the nakshatra that we're in right now is called Uttara Bhadrapada, right? And that is called the water serpent, or the serpent of the deep. And so literally right now, we're deep into the age of Pisces, going backwards. Now let me explain this to you so you do understand this, folks. The ages, the processions of the ages moves backwards in time, not forwards. We're moving forward, but the time of God moves back. Meaning the time of Neter, the time of the Supreme Being, moves backwards. You're going forward, it's going backwards, right? So the age of the Supreme Being, right? God, Neter, right? Whatever you want to, Allah, whatever name you label you want to put on it, right? It's moving backwards. So that means that from the age of Aries, we went into the age of Pisces, and from Pisces, we're going to go into Aquarius. So that means that throughout the degrees, as they change, you're going to move backwards in the sign. We are at 6 degrees. We're going to move backwards to 5, 4, and then 3. And in 3 degrees, 20 minutes, we'll move into a new nakshatra or asterism from Uttara Bhadrapada to Purva Bhadrapada, right? So Uttara Bhadrapada is from 3 degrees 20 minutes to 16 degrees 40 minutes of Pisces. So in this time frame, we have been in the age of not only Pisces, but in the sign of the water serpent, or the deep waters, right, of Pisces. And so the deep waters talk about things that are, one of the things is phenomenal about this is that when they, you talk about how all these brothers and these people, slavery's fake and all that. Well, they do find stuff from the bottom of the ocean floor.
Yeah.
That's where Uttara Bhadra dwells, is the bottom of the ocean floor, right? The bottom, the deep, where the deep pressures of the water crushes things, right? And only certain levels of life can live there. Well, symbolically speaking, that just talks about darkness, right? You are in the age of darkness, right? If you can't see that, something's wrong, right? Right? As we move forward, the more technology we have, the darker things get. Isn't that strange?
Indeed.
Right. The more we move forward, the darker things get, right? You have individuals on YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter, you name it. They got people on there that are literally senseless, you doing senseless things with technology.
Yeah.
Brainless, darkness, ignorance. That's what the negative effects of this age is. Now, the other side is that you find deep treasures, hidden things. Remember, the age of Pisces is about things that are hidden. Water obscures reality. Water is not clarity. Water is obscured. You ever try to see underwater? It's very hard to do.
Well, I mean, just to
Right.
for people, I Ching scholars, 29. The water, water over water, con over con. It's abysmal.
Exactly. Yeah. And water in TCM, right, represents that kidney yang, kidney yin energy. That is the energy of youth, right? That's why we can go deep with it. I mean, the fourth hexagram talks about youthful folly, which is where, right, you got that powerful, potent con hexagram, right, with kin. So nonetheless, right, the darkness of the waters, right, that's where we're in, but we're coming out of. But the thing is, we're going backwards, right? So we're going deeper into that darkness, but there's a springboard that comes out of it. And so literally all the treasures are hidden at the bottom, right? It's kind of like the serpent. They talk about Kundalini and all those things, but y'all, Kundalini is not a fun experience when you experience it. It's a very shocking experience, right? It's soul shattering, right? It's not something that's fun, right? It's something that you discipline for, you work hard for, you meditate deeply, you apply certain principles in life, you have a very clean, idle diet, you have control of your sexual desires. Do people have a clean, idle diet? Do people have control of their sexual desires? Absolutely not. So the deeper we go, the more unsavory it gets. So as we move through, and we're going to come out now out of this dark age of Uttara Bhadrapada, right? And we're going to come into the age at 3 degrees 20 minutes, right? And I don't have the exact year, forgive me, audience, but if you want to hit me up, I can give you the year, or you can do the math yourself, right? Because we're at 6 degrees, right? Pisces, 6 degrees and some change. So right, in about 200 years, we'll be right on the cusp of the new, on the age of Purva Bhadrapada. Now, the age of Aquarius, right, there's 3 nakshatras or asterisms that are in there. You have, going backwards, usually going backwards, you have Purva Bhadrapada, you have Shasta Bishak, and then you have Dahanishta, right? Well, the age of Aquarius truly, you're going to see. Now, here's the thing. All this technology is around us. Yes, it is a representation of what is to come. So, yes, technology will advance, but you're going to see why and how very shortly. And it's not what you think. But I want to throw this out there, right? And just pay attention, y'all, to movies and watch what's going on around you. Now, I'm not saying, believe everything you see on the screen, because I've always told, believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. But at the same time, movies and TV entertainment has a strange, phenomenal way of showing you things that come before they happen. When I was a child, and I'm pretty sure you remember this, Atef, you're not that much younger than me. When I was a kid, though, You had two cartoons, one that showed the opposite ends of the spectrum with regards to man's technological developments. Do you remember which cartoons those
The
were?
Jetsons and the Flintstones.
The Jetsons and the Flintstones, my man. Right? So, right, the Flintstones is showing, now I'm not, I want to start clowning nobody, y'all, because I'm sure we might have some European listeners, but for the most part, those cartoons had Europeans, right? I did not see a black person in the Flintstones ever. Sorry. Never saw it, right? And I never saw one in the Jetsons either, right? And you couldn't count the robot as a black woman, right? Even though she was the black woman if you paid attention very closely, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever peep that, right? She's kind of like, but anyway. So, nonetheless, right? In the Jetsons, they had it. I remember seeing they were watching and talking to someone on the TV screen.
Yes.
I remember as a kid wondering, like, wow, I wonder if we'll ever do that. Right? Well, we're here.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a cartoon. Right? The movie 1984, definitely. Right? Definitely painted a lot of pictures about what we are here dealing with today. Just uncannily so. And 1984 was written far long ago. They made it in a movie, but the book was written long earlier in the 1900s. Yeah. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, this is what we're seeing, is that man is literally able to predict himself into existence with regards to the things that are coming up. Now, flying cars, I don't know about that, y'all, but I'm sure and I know they're working on it, right? I've seen some models, I've seen some things happening. It's just a matter of them working out the bugs. But as much required, when that happens, you're gonna have things that are much worse than car accidents.
Oh yeah, I mean they're here. Right? I mean they're you can buy one. You can buy a flying car right now.
Absolutely.
You can't fly. You're on the waiting list. You're
right, exactly.
List.
Right, yeah. Right, exactly. Right, because they have to set up air traffic and all that. Yeah. But it's coming. It's coming, folks, right? But the point is that there's a movie called Elysium. Watch that movie, right? Because the Elysium does predict a lot of things with what I've seen that are actually, they're talking about creating colonies on the moon, right? In Elysium, they created, this is a movie about, it's in the future, but they had an actual space station that people lived on, right? Because the Earth was so foul. And that takes us into the topic we're going to talk about with the Age of Aquarius, right? Moving in, because Purva Bhadrapada is connected to the Age of Aquarius. So when these technological advancements come, there's going to be detriments that come with it. In fact, we can talk about one just real quickly, 5G. Yeah. Right? 5G is one of those examples that as technology begins to increase, man's health and the overall well-being of the planet will decrease.
Absolutely.
And this is to show that, remember, Jupiter has a dual-edged sword. All planets have a two-sided coin. They're two sides of one coin. So Jupiter is spirituality, expansion, growth, right? But it's also, right, growth in the wrong way, right? Expansion and abundance to the point where it's uncontrollable, and you're seeing that now, right? So what you're going to notice is this, right? So the excesses of Pisces, right, will be the lessons and hardships of Aquarius. That's what we're going to see, right? The excesses of Jupiter will be the hard lessons, the hardships of Saturn, right? And Aquarius is a karmic backlog sign. What does that mean? It means that all of the stuff that you don't want to deal with, you have to face in Aquarius.
Yeah.
Right? Heavy backlogs, right, with regards to karmic debt. Things you didn't, we don't want to see that we're destroying the planet right now. We don't want to see that, but we are. We can name lists, we can give a list of things that are happening. The deforestation of the planet. We just had a major fire, right? No one came to save the rainforest, right? We have that's called the Great Ocean, the Great Trash Patch,
Yeah.
right? Size of I think Texas,
Yeah.
right? In the ocean, right? These are things that we don't want to face. This is due to the expansion of the age of Aquarius, right? The waters are being right sullen, right? You look up in the sky, you have chemtrails, right? I mean, you have global warming. These are all realities, folks. This is very real, right? Well, these are things that are benign to us because we're under the water in the age of Pisces in Uttara Bhadrapada. We're in the deep. We don't want to see it. But when you come up out of the water
Yeah.
and you're into the age of Aquarius, oh, you are going to be faced with it, and your children's children are going to be faced with the unfortunate task of cleaning up the mess that this generation and generations in the past are creating with regards to all of the nastiness that is at the depths of the water. That's in the depths of the water. This is how you begin to see the ages and what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's not a fun age. It's not a utopia, right? As they predict, as they show you on Star Trek, and we have all these zooming things, and not even close. Right? Now, technology will advance, but here's the thing: technology will advance, so they would have to deal with the things in order to clean up the mess that's been made. That's the real technological growth that's going to happen.
Yeah.
In order to be able to handle. I mean, if you really fathom this, right? The trash, as much trash as there are in the oceans, right? It's creating so many imbalances. It's so temperamental. The planet is so it's just like the human body. 1 degree shift, right? It changes the entire apparatus as far as the ecosystems are concerned. Your body is an ecosystem. When you have 99.9 degrees in your body, what do you have? An infection. The only reason the body raises in temperature is because there's an infection in the body, and the body's trying to fight it off. Well, that's what the planet is literally doing, is saying, hey, I have an infection. And I'm trying to burn it off, and we're creating the infection, so the temperatures are rising. People say, well, there's ice ages and all that stuff. Yeah, that's called the Milankovitch cycles. That happens every 100,000 years, right? And that's due to the pull and tug of the Saturn and Jupiter on the Sun and the Earth. You can look it up. There's a science, Milankovitch cycles, and the people say astrology, these things don't. Yeah, no. Jupiter and Saturn have such a major effect on the gravity, even the planets and the planetary systems, that they create the ice ages.
Yeah.
So, right, this is scientifically provable. But nonetheless, in the time that we're in now, we're not going to hit an ice age for quite some time. And the Earth is going to continue to increase due to man's polluting the skies. Now, we talked about the water. We talked about the air, right? We talked about the fact that everything that man is touching right now, well, I don't know about the city you live in, brother, but where I live is trash everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It's not as bad as where I'm from, Cleveland.
New York. Yeah, New York. Yeah, that's a whole nother beast, right?
But
I'm just saying, even everywhere, though, it's still trash,
dirty.
right? When I was a kid, I didn't see trash. I saw it here and there, but not like it is now.
Yeah.
So imagine 20 years from now, right? Imagine 100 years from now. This is only 1 degree. We've only moved 1 degree in 72 years. Can you fathom what it is, right? And so what you're going to find is that man is going to have to face something very ugly about himself and about the things that we have done to the planet now. And he's going to have to use technology to reverse those things.
Yeah.
He's going to have to face hard lessons. And by that time, much of the planet is going to be so polluted, right? It's going to take so long for them to reverse it, and it's still going to continue. So this is what you're dealing with. Remember, Saturn is a planet that is considered dirty. I mean, people don't really fathom Saturn. The positive side of it is also is janitorial, which cleans up the mess too.
Yeah.
It's service,
Yeah.
right? But it's also the dirt. I mean, when it hit me when I'm sitting there meditating on this, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean it's got to get dirtier? How much dirtier can it get? Oh, wait and see. So all of the stuff that's at the bottom of the ocean, what happens? What happens?
Comes
it
up.
comes out.
Yep.
And that's the age of Aquarius. Now we're dealing with the fire serpent, which is Purva Bhadrapada. The fire serpent burns, right? The water serpent drowns and overwhelms, right? So the fire serpent now it's the opposite. We're going opposite into Aquarius. So the age of Purva Bhadrapada, right, is the one-footed goat, right? It's not a creature in the mythological terms. It's one that's kind of kind and benevolent. It's very challenging to deal with. It's a lot of heat, a lot of fanaticism, and this is the other thing, that these signs have co-rulers. So the age of Aquarius, current sign of Aquarius, is co-ruled by Rahu. Now let's get into some things about the age of Aquarius to give you some more understandings and ideas of what's going to happen here. So the age of Aquarius, the Saturn rules. The age is about hard work, service, sacrifice, right? Respondability, not responsibility, but responsibility is just saying, can you respond? And the only time you have to respond is when there's a what? A challenge, a dilemma. Do you see how it's going? Do you see this manifest? I'm showing that these movies are showing, man, subconscious knows this. Right? All of the answers are in the subconscious, y'all. That's where all of the answers are.
It wouldn't be just if it wasn't, you know. You have to have something to nudge you, something to tell you like, hey, something's coming.
Right. Right. The conscious is only 10% of the potential that we use. Not to say we only use 10% of the brain, but the only time we focus in, what we focus in on is 10%, but the rest of the which is subconscious, has all the answers. Right? But the thing is that you will see a one world government coming. And people talk about, oh, is the one world government, the new world order. That's inevitable. That's nothing that you can do to stop it. The powers that be can't even stop it if they wanted to. This thing is in full motion, in full swing.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a full globalization of the governments of the world. How do we know this? Because the age of Aquarius, opposite sign is Leo, and anything opposite to it, meaning that monarchies, governments, those things that we call boundaries with regards to nations, will dissolve.
Yeah.
You will have a full globalization of government. What does that also mean? Your dollar bill, the yen, all of the pound, the euro, those things will go away. Because you're going to be fraught with having to combine resources to stop the onslaught of the destruction of the planet. That's what man is going to be faced with, hard lessons.
Yeah.
You're going to have rebellions, uprisings, which is Rahu. Right? Hiccups, right, in the body, right, is a certain type of chi in the body, right? Well, Rahu is responsible for that similar type of chi, which is hiccups. So the planet, you're going to have hiccups on the planet. What's a hiccup? You ever try to control your hiccups? Can't do it.
No.
Right? These are uncontrollable things that are going to happen, right? Large organizations, right, will literally, organizations, businesses will turn into government You're watching it happen before your very eyes.
Yeah.
Right? So you will have one world government, but the technology will be out of this world. Literally. Man will move across the planetary boundaries, and he will begin to colonize the solar system.
Yeah.
This is what you will see in the Age of Aquarius. Right? Because air spreads. Right? This is the air sign. It's an air sign. So air literally, right? It blows, it spreads, it's pervasive, right? This man will begin to do things that are only witnessed in the movies now.
Yeah.
But you will also have political and economic breakdowns, right? You're going to have, you think that the, what is it, the 1913 stock market crash was something, right? That back then is nothing compared to what is going to shift and come up within the next 100 years or so, because the thing is that it's going to have to collapse in order to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
When the age of Purva Bhadra is really in full effect, which is about 200 and some odd years from now, you're going to see this world would look nothing like it does today, and it will not be a utopia. It'll be a dystopia. Other things that you can notice, right? So when you look at the actual sign, right, there's certain things, right? How do we know what Brother Sheikh Ross telling us? Let's look at the sign. So the second house, which is the resources, your bankroll is your second house. It's Pisces from Aquarius. So that means that the world will have one currency. This is how you can see it. It's coming quickly. It doesn't look like it because we still have these little. But think about it. Who really has cash anymore? Right? Cash is like you have to go. Remember, you have to go get cash.
Yeah.
When cash was the rule of the day.
It's a lot of places that don't even take it anymore.
Thank you, brother. Most people don't transact in cash. So you're going to see cash, a cashless society. At some point, it's going to be null and void. You're going to be able to go to any part of the world and use the same credit system in any other. That's what this whole cryptocurrency thing is. It's the beginnings of this new age and era, right, of paperless transactions.
Yeah.
It's going to get bigger and stronger. It's in teetering right now because there's powers that are still holding on to the powers that are at the bottom of that ocean that it's not going to go easy. It's going to go with a bang.
Oh yeah.
Right. Where do you think most of the oil is found in the world?
Underwater.
Exactly. So the oil companies, the gasoline, right, natural gas, these things will be a thing of the past because the earth can't sustain itself on it.
Yeah.
Literally, it is not an endless supply. You can see the age of Aquarius coming right before your very eyes. You're on the cusp of something that is changing. We are in such rapid changing times. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So with that, right, the thing is that we can see now that the currency is going to be a one world currency. That's just written in the destiny of man. Right? But you will also see, right, fluctuations with regards to health. Health will be so, there's going to be so much illness. It's going to be to where man is going to have to literally devote himself to this. And the sixth house from Aquarius, which your sixth house is your area of imbalances and illnesses is cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. This means that this part of reality is going to change. The moon changes every day. It does not stay the same. You're going to have new diseases all the time. You think diseases like all HIV and all that stuff, that's nothing what's coming. All of the diseases that will come up, but the thing is technology will be there to try to counterbalance this. This is how man will fight and do his bidding, is through the intellect, through the mind, through the intellect, through the ability to try to stave things off through technological advancement. This is why the technology, you're seeing it as it's changing every day. Every day something else is coming up new. Nanotechnology, all of these different things. I can't even remember what the thing is now that they create things with the resin, like it takes on a shape or mold. I wish I had the name of it. It's phenomenal. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to paint a doom and gloom picture for this because it's not necessarily all bad, but it is not going to be one that we think is going to be some golden age. That's not going to happen. By the time we reach March 21st, 2570, the world will be completely changed to the point where technology will rule the day.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the integration of technology with the physical body. That's where we're headed. Because if you look at the sixth house, this is what we're talking about. Cancer type of things where the body they'll try to use technology to literally maintain and hold the body in some symbiotic stasis. This is where we're headed. And the age of Purvabhadrapada is one that creates revelations in a flash. So you have to go, the research is down deep in the water so that it go deep down. But when the age of Pisces is here, it'll be an instant. One day, something will have changed the whole world. I mean, it almost is that way now. Almost. But the world's still holding on to an old era. It's dying. You know, I deal with a lot of elderly people. And, you know, there's still people that don't use the internet, believe it or not. Believe it or not. Right? And it shocked me. I'm like, you don't have a what? She's like, oh, honey, I don't do that. I'm like, really? But there's the old, but once they're gone, yeah. It's going to, then technology will even increase even more rapidly. But technology is not the answer, right? Man is going to have to find some spiritual answer to these things. What we call the religion Christianity will dissolve. Religions as a mass will dissolve over time in this age. You will not have Christianity 2,000 years from now. Won't be here. Sorry, y'all. I know y'all love Jesus, but he's not going to last. Right? Think about it. 100 years from now, folks still going to be calling and saying Jesus is coming. In 200 years, he's coming. In 300 years, when we get into the age of Purvabhadrapada, when all of the oceans, the blindness of the age of Aquarius is being removed, and you're knocking on that door. The sun is rising up and the light is about to be thrown and shown with regards to the falsehoods that were beset in the age of age of Pisces. You're going to see that Christianity will be a small religion. I guarantee you this.
That's deep.
The age of Pisces, the age of the fish, right? They're going opposite ways. When that bondage, that thing snaps, right? That's it. Right? The Pisces is, you ever heard of Pandora's box?
Yeah.
What was let out at the end when all of the evils beset the world? The last thing that came was hope. Right? Hope, right, is a lower man's way of saying, I don't know, I believe. Belief will go away. And knowledge will rule the day. But with that, as much is given, as much required. So when the age of Aquarius comes, trust me, sometimes you're going to want to have it be back in the age where people, because literally things will people will become colder, more distant. You think people are distant now in their cell phones?
Oh,
It's gonna be completely, right? What do they call it? The internet of what? Everything.
everything. Yeah.
So your door, right? They have it. I was blown away, and this stuff has been old, y'all. I mean, I'm still kind of old school. I went to the computer store, and I was looking at some laptops, trying to upgrade a little bit, and I noticed. I said, "Oh, look at that! They have it where your door responds to your phone, straight up.
Yeah.
So you can hit your phone, bam, unlock your door. I mean, you can control your whole house through your phone now. I mean, as far as like, this is what's coming, right? And the lazier that man gets, the more disease that comes. Sixth house. Right?
Yeah.
So you can see these things manifesting right now. I mean, most of us have a key. You got a key to your door, right? I got a key to my door. But that's going to be old. That's antiquated. That's literally, right? When the youth begin to become our age, literally, they're going to want the door to be changed or opened through the phone, right? This is how it's going to be.
Well, it's getting like that now.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So you see what I mean? The age of Aquarius is not some benevolent utopian, right, where everybody's getting along and we're all one big happy family. No, this is forced. Saturn forces you to see things.
Yeah. He
forces you to work together because you got a problem. Right? So, the other thing is that when you understand how this thing works, is that the 10th house is Scorpio from Aquarius, right? And the 10th house is the house that deals with the world at large, what's on the world scene. And if you understand Scorpio, it's also a karmic backlog sign. So, so the world at large will be completely transforming all the time. And there will be much more violence because the technology and the means to exact that violence will be the weapons, the things that man can use. You think nuclear warfare is something, that's nothing. They're going to have the ability to literally do things. The one thing that you're going to see a lot of is drones, right? That's how you will be policed, right? It's through drones. It's all in the movies, y'all. I know y'all see it. Right? Yeah. I know I see it. This is coming. I saw a drone sit the other day. I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. Imagine the red and blue lights. And you shoot that drone. I mean, they got cameras in the hood. So, back in the day, dope dealers, man, they get away with it. Shh. Not anymore.
No.
Right? They got cameras. If you shoot that camera, you got a problem. That's like shooting a police dog, right?
Yeah, big problem.
You see what I mean? You can see where this thing is headed. So imagine, you driving, and this drone comes from the back of you, right? It comes to the side of you. Mr. Harut, would you please pull over your vehicle? If you don't pull over your vehicle, we will disable your vehicle.
Yeah. That's the technology to do that is here right now.
Right now. They're just waiting. They're getting you comfortable to it.
Yeah.
Right, and the police will be right there. There will be a police officer. He'll be in the comfort of his own precinct. Could you please show your ID? If you don't show your ID, there will be an officer to remove you from the vehicle and take you to the precinct in 3 minutes. You have 90 seconds. No, you have 150 seconds to reply.
Yeah.
They scan your ID. Please hold 1 minute while we verify. And you don't even have to have your insurance card. All that stuff. You have to have insurance. Back in the day, you didn't have to have insurance to get your plates. You have to have insurance to get your plates now. I mean, this is just the thing, and all that will be on one thing, either your ID or some form of electronic device where they can scan it and put it into the system.
It's gonna be in your head. You have a chip in your head.
I mean, I'm saying it'd be something. You know what I mean? Where you literally, you know what I mean? This is what's coming. Okay, well, we just went ahead and charged your bank account, right? $700. And you think weird? I'm saying $700, right? It'll be like $70. The value of the currency. That's what I'm getting at. The value of the currency will be $700. Would be like $70.
Yeah.
And you complaining, man, they just charged me $700. Well, we heard it now. We'd be like, oh, whoa. No, it's just that's the way the economy will work. Because if you have a global currency, $700 would be nothing because you're disseminating that equidistantly amongst billions of people.
Yeah.
So this is the new world that's coming, right? And then the drone will fly off, right? And go back to some unknown, unseen spot. You don't even know where they are. And then you'll see some other drones. They got drones delivering your Amazon stuff now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got drones. The Pizza Hut's got drones coming, right? It's coming. Right, so this is the new world that we'd be headed into. This is the age of Aquarius that is coming, but it's not quite here. And I'm talking about drones. I'm talking about a sky full of them. Right, working from home will be the new way. They're doing it now. Right, working from home. Well, you don't have to leave your house. So you're going to be imprisoned in your home. I'm talking about thinking about Saturn as the ruler of this age, y'all. You think it's restrictive now? It's going to be extremely restrictive. You're going to be working from your home. As soon as you get in your car, you're tracked. You won't have a choice in this. That's the 10th house as Scorpio. Does it make sense? They have the ability to see into any and everything. Scorpio is the detective, right? They can see inside of you. It's the sign that deals with hidden secrets. So if the secrets will be the whole world will be able to see your secrets.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. I don't know about y'all, but when I start really realizing this, because each sign, each house from Aquarius moving on around, it shows you, right, what this thing looks like. I'm not going to get into each house, right, because we'd be here for a whole nother hour, right? But I'm just giving you tidbits to go play with so that you can kind of start to, use this thing, right? The 11th house, right? Sagittarius, right? One religion, or a system that integrates religions whereby, I'm telling you, Christianity's on its way out. It doesn't seem like it because you got mega churches, you got TD Jakes, you got Creflo Dollar, Make You Holla, right? All these guys. Mega churches.
Well, it's been documented that they noticed that it's been a significant reduction in the amount of people that are not even just Christianity, but just the whole kind of Abrahamic religions in general. There a lot of people are moving away from those and tapping more into the ancient traditions and things like that.
The New Agers, right? Yeah,
the New Agers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's coming. Well, get Saturn, but guess what? Saturn rules, right? Things that are old.
Yeah.
See, I mean, you can see, you begin to use the words that come out of the planetary energies and the houses, and you can see the age as it manifests.
Yeah.
Right. You can see the age that it manifests. So, people talk about, what does the age of Aquarius looks like? This is not a fun place, y'all. Sorry. I mean, I hate to be the bearer. Right? It's going to be quite interesting. I mean, trust me. If I could live to see it, I would. It'd be mind-blowing. It's going to be mind-blowing, literally. But it will not be what we would imagine it to be as far as enjoyable, right? Saturn is an oppressor, right? It crushes you until you conform to its law. Right, so it's coming to the point where you are going to have to abide, because you can't hide nothing. The criminal behavior is taken on a whole new level now, right?
Yeah.
And even then, now you can't even get it. It's impossible, right? It's impossible. It's impossible. You will get caught. You will. At some point, somehow, some way, they'll have it to where the cocaine will have micro nanotech stuff in it when they transport it on it, and they know exactly where it is. But here's the crazy thing about it: they're probably gonna legalize it because they have to.
Oh, that might come
quicker sooner than we think, right? Who would think that marijuana would be legalized? I never thought so. I never did. I said, nah, but then guess what? People back in the Prohibition era never thought liquor would be either. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are the changes. And the closer we get to this age, the more rapid the changes will come.
Yeah.
Right. So, we'll do a show on Pisces and we'll expound on Pisces the way we do, and we can go look backwards, but we actually can do any age, the age of Aries. We can do any age and literally see what was at hand, right, at the time in which these ages were governing. And each age is 2,160 years. Some people say 2,155. We round it up. 2,160 years, right? 2,520 years is a great year, right? Which each age or each one is a piece or component, which are called eons.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if you was gonna go here, but what about towards the end of the age of Aquarius? Is it something that will it lighten up a little bit?
Well, guess what age we go in from there?
Well, yeah, Capricorn. Yeah.
I'll tell you this: man will traverse the stars. People don't really get it, and they're holding on to this old way of thinking. Even my person, y'all. Even me, I still hold on, right? As lung chi probably need to be boosted a little bit, but nonetheless, you know what I mean? My person still holds on a great deal, but man, let's just use the age for example. The 10th house is the kin to the 10th sign, and the goat is the animal of Capricorn, right?
Yep.
Well, what does a goat do? He climbs to the top. Well, we already are leaving the planet and trying to go to places. So by that time, man will have the ability to traverse vast distances. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be going to other planets, y'all. I'm not saying that. And that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there will be so much so of a one world global economy if we last that long. That we will literally technologically be able to traverse vast difference. I'm talking about within our own solar system, right? Be able to go to Mars, and Mars is not a habitable planet. They can't terraform it. I don't care what they terraform. Mean they can't change Mars to Earth because Mars doesn't have a magnetosphere, and it doesn't have the shield that the Earth has with regards to the ionosphere and the ability to protect itself from radiation. That's why Mars looks like it does, because it doesn't have that, what we call a human. Like man has an aura, the planet has an aura, and it protects it from the solar winds. Mars doesn't have that, right? And never will. So we won't be living on Mars like that, y'all. We might have some colonies there and stuff like that, but I'm talking about literally like mining and other mining, on the Jupiterian moons, or going so far as to, literally putting man on other worlds. Now, granted, technology is going to have to go a long way, because Jupiter's atmosphere, but it's think of the word of it. It's not ionosphere. Forgive me, y'all. Nonetheless, it's 10 times more powerful than Earth's. So gosh, man.
You talking about gravitation?
Not just the gravitation. It'll come to me in a minute, but the aura. I'm gonna say aura around it, but nonetheless, it cannot. Man, the technology that we have, it can't stand. I want to say the magnetosphere. It really is like the magnetosphere. It can't. The technology can't. It can't function in it. Right.
Yeah.
Give us 2,000 years. They'll be able to build something that will be able to do it, and you'll be able to be there, right? So that's where we're headed, right? And this one world, to shift to a consciousness where man is one, truly one, is painful, right? It's painful. It's painful, right? To literally go, and it's not going to be like Star Trek, y'all. That's not what I'm saying. No. But it will be to where man will literally begin to master higher levels, because he's going to have to in order to survive. He's going to have to master higher levels of physical reality, which hopefully he can go into the inner reality, master those levels too, and have a truly self-mastery, true level of self-mastery. But I doubt that very seriously. But when the age of Capricorn comes, we literally will try to leave this planet in a means that will try to take our life to another planet and then duplicate it there over periods. I'm talking about thousands of years, like when we put something on a ship and send it somewhere. That kind of technology, where now about aliens coming down on it, I'm not getting into that. Right, that's a whole nother topic I don't want to get into, because folks, I'm not going to go there. But just trust and believe that man himself will be able to have a very high propensity to be able to navigate the stars. So that's that's age for Capricorn. That's what it would bring. And then think about it like this: 2,160 years of that. Right, and bringing us to the age of Sagittarius. I don't even think I could think like that, because at that point, right, that's high. If we can last that long, right, that's high level stuff. Yeah, that's how I mean that. And there's other levels of the ages I'm not getting into, and we're almost out of time, but there's other levels of technology that we can't even fathom right now. Like, there's other levels of technology that there is in right now that I don't even know about. They won't let us know about, right? Because they're testing it and using it in different ways. And they say that the government is about 60. Let's put it this way: when we got the internet, it was old to the government.
Yeah.
The internet's been around, y'all, since the 70s. The internet, it's been around since the 70s. So we got it in 1990, 93, right? So they're already that much further than us, and as far as what they truly have at their disposal. They just can't tell us, right? So that's something to ponder as well. So just to know that the internet was created in the 70s and we got it in the 90s, and we thought we was doing something with it. We think we're doing something with it now. They have something that they're not going to tell you. So, that's kind of the juxtaposition I wanted to bring with the Age of Aquarius. That it's going to be an age of serious transformations, but also serious problems and serious dilemmas for us to solve.
Indeed. I had a tidbit but I'm gonna save it for the age of Pisces. I was gonna. I'm gonna hold on to it. I'll tell you after.
For sure.
I'll tell you offline. Something that just hit. But yeah, we'll save it for that age of Pisces.
We just might go back in time and do it, and you do each age. We might just do that.
Indeed. So yeah, man, I think we sliced this one up, and I think that this would be another classic right here because yeah, I mean it when you think of, I mean, as far as the popular notion out there is that, you know, everybody's just going to be, you know, everything's going to be hunky dory and stuff like that. But when you really get down into the weeds of it, it's like, you know, I mean, because, you know, just where we're at right now. Yeah. And I don't see where, you know, the utopia is going to come out of the road that we're traveling on right this second, you know?
No, this was triggered. I started researching this about 12 years ago. I saw this video by a fella, and this guy was interviewing him. He was saying, oh, you know, we're going to be so powerful in the age of Aquarius. And the guy started laughing, and the interviewer was like, why are you laughing? And he said, you have no idea what man is faced with. And I'm like, what? And he didn't go too deep into it, because I started researching from there. I'm like, yeah. What is he talking about? And he said the age of Aquarius will be heartbreaking at best. I'm like, and when he said that, I said, what? And he said, you don't know. He said, you don't really want to know what the age of Aquarius was. And I was like, I want to know, right? So I started researching and just using the signs to navigate and to literally compare and contrast the ages and what they do. And when we talk about the age of Pisces, you'll really see even more what the age of Aquarius will bring too. But then when you start looking at the age of Aries, each age has a signature to it. And you begin to see that signature. And then when you see the signature of the age of Aquarius, you're like, wow, it's bittersweet, because it's like, wow, we get all this technology, but then we get all the problems with it. So it's like, is it even worth it? You know, you gain the kingdom, but to lose your soul, is it worth it? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's definitely something that's going to be, when my children, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm like looking at her like, I'm going to try to pour all this knowledge into you as much as I can, so that you have the ability to navigate. And literally, the powers that be are trying to hand the baton off to their youth. So we need to be handing the baton off to our youth to be able to outlast this thing and be able to know how to move properly.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we could table it right there. Once more again, I want to remind you that, you know, this episode was brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Calipusha Astrology. You know, go follow us at Push It Forward, at Cosmic Combo on Instagram. Follow Brother Ra at Shechem on Instagram. And, hit us up. We got some products coming pretty soon. You know, a couple other little changes and stuff like that coming up as well. So stay tuned to that. Brother Rod, you got anything you want to, impart on the people before we get out?
No. There'll be some astronomical announcements coming up next podcast. Some significant ones that are coming up here towards the end of the year that you want to be mindful of. So, things that I try to drop on my students to kind of keep y'all looking up and, enjoying the heavens, because it's not just about necessarily using it astrologically, but astronomy, the actual physical side of it is a phenomenal thing when you get to really see things that you will never see. You won't see in another 60 to 70 years, celestial events that happen, once in a lifetime. So I'm going to be bringing some of those to the people in the next podcast, maybe in the next couple podcasts. We'll just drop a few on us as we go.
Indeed. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next week same time, same place. We're out. Peace.
Peace.